Kanye West, Fuentes, and Milo Yiannopoulos.
We have Ye himself. Would you like to introduce yourself, good sir?
You did it.
There you go. I think everybody knows who you are.
Nicholas, please.
Hi, yeah, I'm
Hi.
Nick Fuentes. First time here on the Timcast. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What do you do?
Oh, he's so nervous. Look at him. That's a funny still frame. He's so nervous. He's like holding his jaw together because it's shaking. I've seen people like that before. He's like a dweeb. I know. If it wasn't for all the Hitler particles, he'd be like a soft boy, you know?
And of course, Milo, you were here a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I'm your best
I've
ever
been
guest.
labeled anti-Semite, right? So there's different beliefs about our bloodlines, you know, like the documentary that Kyrie posted.
Keep in mind, the text and video that Kyrie posted was explicit Holocaust denial. It was not just, yeah.
And history has been changed. So when we start questioning things,
That's the Hebrew Israelite line right there. Their belief that the original Hebrews are now black people and that what we now consider to be Jewish people are actually a group of usurpers who have fucked over black people, aka the real Hebrews.
everyone got to see what's really been happening. And now we can really understand. We can see that Ron Emanuel was right next to Obama, and then Jared Kushner was right next to Trump.
So this is just the Jewish question argument. The Jews are behind the scenes controlling the U.S. government. Again, there's not really a dog whistle here. The interesting thing to me about Kanye is that he's so mentally ill and so unaware of how he comes off to other people that a man who used to be known for his charisma is incapable of making these arguments with any subtlety. Even like the stupidest online neo-Nazis know that you don't open with this. You lead people in with other like baiting talking points. You have to you know, they're groomers. You have to groom someone's brain into thinking these things. But Kanye doesn't have whatever precautionary like impetus they might have. He doesn't have.
But so we're getting right into it, I guess, right? I was hoping to go for the news first before we got into all of this stuff.
Even Tim is like, okay, I guess we're just, you know, I asked you about your haircut and we're talking about the Jews now. Okay.
So they put a $75 million hold on 4 of my accounts. And then they said, you owe a lot of taxes. Took me like 6 hours to find out how much a lot was. They said, well, around $50 million. Now I'm going to different CFOs like,
wait,
okay.
Wait, so the problem here, wait, he owes taxes? Wait, I thought this was because of the Jews deplatforming him. Were his accounts frozen because he owes taxes? Is everything Jews? Keep in mind, like, we're hearing all of this from Kanye West, the world's least mentally well man. Like, he's experiencing all of this in like a psychedelic haze. This is like giving a guy like fucking 14 grams of psilocybin and then throwing him into like a business conference or like a law firm and telling him to just talk around for a couple hours and then like assess the situation and report back while not sober yet. Like we're not. What's happening? Why was anything frozen? I don't know. He took how many Benadryl? Yeah, I don't know. It's okay.
But when I would work on homeless shelters and ideas, I'd have a contractor, we won't say what race, and
he can't help himself. He's like a child, dude.
You know, to come in here, I feel like it's a setup to be like defending. I'm not going to go through another, like I'm literally going to walk the F off the show if I'm sitting up here having a, you know, talk about you can't say that it was Jewish people that did it when every sensible person knows that. I mean, Jon Stewart knows what happened to me and they took it.
Ooh, see, yeah, that's why I really didn't like the Jon Stewart bit where he was basically defending Kanye there. Because like a wise, intelligent Marxist can watch the Jon Stewart bit that he did and understand the point that he's getting at. But he basically kind of affirmed a lot of Kanye's point. He basically, like, Jon Stewart's bit was basically like, there are a lot of dumbass anti-Semites out there, and we need to be able to engage with those points. We need to be able to, like, listen to them say, hey, the Jews control everything, and know how to respond to it. But he said it in a way where he's kind of like, you know, hey, you can't deny a lot of Jews in Hollywood, hey! You know, like kind of the Dave Chappelle thing to that extent, you know? It was funny, and again, if you're being charitable and intelligent, you know, I can understand where Jon Stewart's coming from, but ultimately John is a liberal, and I don't think he realizes that this like self-aware, hey, we'll banter with it, like approach towards neo-Nazism doesn't work when the neo-Nazis are growing stronger. It doesn't. It's not actually good. You know, there were lots of funny guys in the Weimar Republic. I'll tell you what. There were a lot of, yeah, I'll say it. There were a lot of self-aware, very intelligent Jewish comedians and commentators, media folks sympathetic to them, so on and so forth. You'll never guess, you know, which pit their ashes ended up in. It's all fun and games until you lose, at which point your biting satire and witticisms no longer have much of an effect.
We found out that my trainer was a MK Ultra Canadian. They tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me, and they when I asked them how.
Dude, the Jewish doctor who said this guy has bipolar and needs his meds, was more right than any doctor has ever been about anything. Guy who developed germ theory, not as right as that one Jewish doctor. Guy who came up with the idea of like, yes, sterilizing medical tools, nope, not as smart. Brain surgeons, not as smart, sorry. That guy hit on it, you know? Oh, the Jews tried to put me on antipsychotics. Well, the Jews had a fucking point, man.
How much lithium did you want to put me on exactly? It took them 4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And
A lot. A lot. It took them 4 days to count the amount he would need. Like, he doesn't realize how this makes him look. Like, from a distance, it's like, my man goes on here, neo-Nazi talking points, a blah-de-blah, you know, and then he's like, yeah, you know, they try to keep me silent, the Jews, they tried to give me antipsychotics to stabilize my mood. They told me I need so much, haha, those Jews, right? And everyone else is like, yeah, that was crazy of them. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Before the show, obviously, I'm getting a bunch of messages from people. People are hitting me up, and they're like, you shouldn't host them. They're anti-Semitic. They're white supremacists. They're racist. I do find the idea, I do find it funny or weird or whatever that, you know, Nick, they call you a white supremacist. You're here working with or for, you know, one of the most powerful black men, one of the wealthiest and most famous. But
okay, this was what, because I saw this before. This was one of the most telling interactions. First of all, I want to be clear, okay? Tim Pool will run up to the line. Tim Pool will not explicitly endorse racial or ethnic bias, but his job, he pushes people right up to that line. Tim Pool is actually especially hated by a lot of online neo-Nazis because he radicalizes a ton of them into neo-Nazism who then hate him for not jumping the line himself. Point that I'm getting at here. Anyway, first of all, Tim runs up against the line. He's sort of kind of playing cover here to an extent. But what's most funny is how obviously uncomfortable Nick Fuentes is having himself described as a guy who is following a powerful black man.
or for, you know, one of the most powerful black men, one of the wealthiest.
This is the biggest platform Nick Fuentes has gotten in a while. You know, this is him at his A game, you know, charisma-wise. And he's just like, yeah, I know, yeah. Yeah, he hates that. He hates that because, and I don't want to play into the bias here or whatever, but you know what's got to have him see thing? As much of a goofy guy as he is, Nick is smart. He is. And Kanye, at least right now, isn't. Can you imagine what a neo-Nazi, a bright neo-Nazi, must be thinking, being attached to the hip and dependent upon, in terms of fame, a not that bright black? That's gotta be rough. Whew.
A lot of people were saying on the right specifically, don't platform them. And I said, well, I want to understand what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. They're they're involved in what may be the biggest news story of the past week, and we have an opportunity to sit down and talk.
Because the red media controls both sides. It just said it as simple as possible. Jared Kushner was next to Trump.
He's got no self-control. Nothing. Every time Tim tries to like bring it back to like some kind of like, oh, well, aren't we all intelligent and civil for having this conversation? Kanye's like, conversation about the Jews? Don't mind me. And just, yeah, Kanye tries not to mention Jews channel. Seriously, it's insane. He can't. What is red media? It's a reference to an image that he saw probably on 4chan of a bunch of media execs where the ones that were Jewish had their names in red or highlighted in red. The list was probably fraudulent. I've gone over a few of those everyone is Jewish lists, and it's usually like, oh yeah, this media executive is Jewish because like his cousin's third wife's ex-boyfriend's partner's dance instructor was Jewish. You know, like it's got a lot of shit like that. It's very much like any cultural association, which it's kind of interesting how neo-Nazis will simultaneously talk about Jews as an incredibly insular in-group, but then also include like everyone in that group. Isn't that weird? Yeah, no, it's the Fasci talking point. The enemy is both weak and strong. Jews are a super selective, ultra preferential in-group who don't let outsiders in. But also, every single media executive guy who's ever brushed hands with a Jewish person is themselves a Jew. Sure. Wait, I have to address this in chat. From JCT53E, bars. Why are you so quiet about his trainer, Harley Pasternak? Yeah, fuck Milo and Fuentes, but fuck you too, dishonest piece of shit pedo. You caught me. You caught me. I'm covering for my man, Harley Pasternak. This whole stream is just an elaborate obfuscation. My man, Harley. What the fuck? Some fucking schizoids coming out of the woodwork for this segment. That's fine. Don't ban them. We love them. Okay.
They're trying to put me in jail for my opinion.
But I
I'm
get that.
I'm not going to have.
Nobody's trying to put Kanye in jail for his opinion. It might be funny, like it'd be a good bit. I don't think that's happening.
You went right into the anti-Semite thing. I think it's something that should be talked about. But if you start bringing this up, you're going to ask my opinion on it. I'm going to disagree with you.
I didn't ask your opinion on it. You jumped into it.
But
He doesn't even want to talk about it. He's just who asked for Europe? What? I'm just JQing over here. Who'd you sit down, Tim?
What I was fighting for was the IP, so my children could, I'm sorry. Just sometimes I think about 7 thoughts at one time, because
he just thought of Jewish people and got really angry for a second. Yeah, you know why you're thinking of a bunch of thought? Because you're mentally ill. Take your meds. Oh my God. He's schizophrenic. No, he is. Lithium is a mood stabilizer. He has bipolar disorder, and he probably has some kind of psychotic condition. Vaush, don't make excuses for his behavior. I'm not making excuses. He's mentally ill. Do you think Kanye would do well in the polls? No, not even remotely. He is just a tornado.
God is using me. He's breaking me down, removing all of the, richest person, all of this, so I can serve him. And the more and more those things are taken away from me, the more I can be empty and be a vessel and be able to be used. And right now, it's like, you're not going to take...
I really don't want to get into the religion talk right now, but I just want to say I've often made the claim that religion exists as a legitimizing mechanism for other beliefs and feelings, to give like a metaphysical justification for some other thing that you believe. And I mean, I think it should be pretty obvious, like how this ties into that, what God wants with you seems awfully convenient in how it sort of overlaps with the megalomaniacal manic tendencies,
And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a
dog
was biting my arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost, but I still walked in stride through it. Yeah.
I think they've been extremely unfair to you.
Who was they though? We can't say who they is, can we?
Press. I'm not using the.
This is exactly what I mean. This is Tim Pool trying to justify, legitimize, and defend Kanye's anti-Semitism, but he's not willing to commit to calling it like a Jewish thing, but Kanye's too mentally ill to let him get away with the half justification. Because the media has not been unfair to Kanye. He has gotten so much undeserved justification and credit and second chances, even though for years he has been saying increasingly unhinged, heinous, immoral shit. He's been given so much leeway because of his legend as an artist. And Tim is coming out here to defend him on that. Oh yeah, they've been really unfair to you. No, they haven't. But Kanye is not smart enough, not mentally stable enough to play the game. He cannot let Tim just say, oh, they've been unfair. Let it hang. Let it be ambiguous. he has to say, "Oh, by they you mean?"
We can't say who they is,
corporate
can we?
press. I'm not using I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking
It is
about
them, though, isn't it? I mean, because
Hi, Nick.
because when you think about it,
And Nick, who again, like I said, smart guy, but a clout shark. If Nick was smart, he would be backing off this point. He would be trying to find ways to pull it back, to reel it back in. If he was truly interested in the propagation of Nazi ideology, he could say something like, oh, yeah, Kanye jumps to that, sure, but when you say the corporate press, I mean, you can't deny that there is a lot of Jewish people there, right? And then, Tim would have to wrangle with this equivocation, right? The explicit anti-Semitism versus the implicit. But Nick just wants money and Catboy ass pussy, presumably. Kanye is incredibly mentally ill, and Milo is thinking about young boys, I assume, and is distracted in that fashion.
consider it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
what do I mean? Okay, so how about he leaving?
And Kanye
In
leaves.
front of the press?
He's gone.
And it's done. He leaves. Kanye did not want any pushback on the anti-Semitism. None. He wanted zero pushback. A degree of fragility. Was that really the end? Yeah. No, that's it. He left. Yeah. Tim Pool was not willing to fully say. Tim Pool will say they are being unfair to you. But then Kanye's like, oh, they, you mean the Jews, right? And Tim will say, no, that's not what I mean. And Kanye will leave. Insane fragility.